Leo Varadkar just walking off the plinth there. Former Fine Gael Minister Ivan Yates still with us. Personal and professional reasons, Ivan.
Yeah, and clearly emotional.
Very
there
emotional,
at the end.
yeah.
I think it raises as many questions as it answers, quite frankly, because someone who has worked so hard to become Taoiseach, to become a cabinet minister, I've known Leo quite well for the last decade and more, and he was a very driven person. And for him, essentially, to throw in the towel is out of character, and it's also... I don't accept his point that now is a good time, so close to the elections. I think it's excessively dramatic. It leaves the party, the party needs time to plan on the eve of a cusp of an election like this. I think it will spark a series of speculations as to the real pressures that came under him to consider his position. But the one thing I do know is there was no heave here. There was no parliamentary party. Even people that absolutely disagree with government decisions, people who are not standing at the next election, all of those people, I was speaking to Paul Keogh, you speak to Charlie Flanagan and different people, there was no appetite to oust him from office. And so I this has come out of the blue to Fine Gael people more than anyone.
OK. Alan Farrell is with us here on the line as well. Fine Gael TD for Dublin, Fingal. Excessively dramatic, as Ivan Yates described it, Alan. What's your reaction to Leo Varadkar's decision to jump today?
Good afternoon. It's a bombshell, completely unexpected. I'm bordering on speechless, if I'm quite honest with you. This morning I was preparing for the launch of the report on assisted dying, and this afternoon politics has decided to change the agenda for the day.
When did you get word this morning, Alan?
So in the last few minutes, really, as the media started reporting it, I think it was the Independent reported that the Taoiseach was to make an announcement of his intentions to resign.
So there was no communication to TDs or senators?
Zero. No, not at all. To be quite honest with you, I've had more calls from colleagues in the last half hour than I've had in possibly the last 2 weeks. So we were all speculating as to exactly what was going on and the rationale behind it. But as somebody who was elected on the same day as Leo back in 2004 to Fingal County Council, I have worked with him with the exception of the Dáil between 2007 and 2011. So it's a long relationship and one that I'm quite disappointed to see come to an end.
Are you disappointed with the timing of Leo Varadkar's decision, Alan, given the elections that are around the corner?
It's a difficult decision to stand away from one's post, particularly when you're Taoiseach. The Taoiseach has outlined his position that it's personal and professional, and he believes that it is best served for him to step aside and for a new leader to lead us into the local European election and beyond. I take him at his word. I've never, ever had a disagreement with Leo in those 20 years. And I would find it very difficult to accept that his announcement would be damaging in any way to the party. We have a robust constitution as a party in terms of the process for replacing him. He has been an exceptional leader, and I think he will leave a significant legacy if you consider some of the things that he pointed out.
But he also did say, though, there in the past few moments that he doesn't feel that he's the best person for the job anymore. Like, was there a lot of pressure internally following the results of the recent referendum?
I'm not aware of any pressure at all. There has been no discussion. I think Ivan said it before you introduced me. There has been no pressure.
No heave, no he discussion. Said. Yeah, no heave.
No even, smarmy or smart-arsed text messages, if you'd excuse the language at this hour of the day. Not a thing. As I said from the outset, this is a bombshell to all of us, in not just in Fine Gael, but across the Oireachtas. But, I think, as I said, he has a significant legacy. He has thrived in political times of political and social upheaval. He is responsible, along with his cabinet, for shepherding Ireland through the Brexit process, including the prevention of a hard border. And I think during the COVID period, which was, I think, a particularly significant time for all of us. And it's very clear that the decisions made by him and by Cabinet and Neffet and others saved lives and livelihoods.
The attention now, Alan, as well, you know, of course, after Leo Varadkar's announcement in the past few minutes today, turns to who's going to replace him. So, who do you think's going to be the new leader of Fine Gael and Taoiseach?
Well, you'll forgive me, the knowledge of the Taoiseach's intentions is really maybe 10, 15 minutes old at this stage, so I will personally require time to reflect on it.
But there's plenty of names being mentioned already.
It's a member. Let me be very blunt with you. I'm going to take a time to reflect on exactly what has happened. I'm going to take time to see who emerges. I probably have 24 to 48 hours to make a decision in relation to whom I will support, dependent upon who comes forward. The membership have a very significant role to play in this process, and he, as he outlined himself, that process will take place in advance of our Ardèche in April.
Yeah, it's going to happen very quick. And I'm just interested, I know you don't want to back somebody here in the airwaves, and that's fair enough, but do you think, as Ivan put it, will it be a coronation or will there actually be a contest for this?
Well, you know, I was reflecting on that question because I anticipated it. And I think we as a party are very fortunate to have some very significant members of the Oireachtas, members of the Dáil, in a number of different ministers who would make very capable leaders, Taoiseach. And, you know, I look forward to seeing who emerges from that. But,
so you'd like to see a contest then? You'd like to see there be...
Well,
options.
Contests are healthy, but we are in the shadow of a local and European election in 9 weeks, so perhaps we don't have time to spend too much time at it.
Yeah, well, it doesn't sound like there's going to be, given the timeline Leo announced there today.
Well, I think we have to also consider our government partners in this. This is not without impact upon them, and I clearly want to make sure that if we as a party are going to go through this process, which is going to take 2 weeks at most, that we give due regard to our coalition partners, and that's an important aspect to consider.
Alan, I'm going to bring in, stay with us, we'll have plenty more reaction here on Lunchtime Live and Newstalk over the next hour. This is the announcement of the past 10 minutes or so today that Leo Varadkar is to step down as Taoiseach and leader of Fine Gael. Paul Murphy, People Before Profit TD, is with us on the line today. Was it as much of a bombshell in the opposition benches, Paul?
Yes, I mean, this was not expected, was not rumoured. So it certainly is a surprise, no question about it. I mean, we are awaiting the High Court judgment in the case I have taken in relation to SIPO not investigating Leo Varadkar. We're expecting that decision in the next week or so, and now the case that it's about him, the person who it's about, is effectively no longer Taoiseach, or is only in a caretaker role for the next number of weeks. So that certainly changes things. So yes, it's a surprise. I guess we'll see over the next weeks if there's anything behind it that is not being said so far, or whether it is, as he said, that he's kind of have had enough of it. The main thing for us is that the next Taoiseach should not be decided by the Fine Gael party, dominated by the Fine Gael parliamentary party and then the Fine Gael members, but that the people should have the right to decide.
So he should have triggered an election today then, Paul, should he, in your mind?
Yes, and a general election should still be triggered. And I think it's very important that people raise their voices to say, look, we have a right to decide who is Taoiseach of this country. The idea that a very, very small section of people, effectively the Fine Gael parliamentary party...
Yeah, and the membership to a certain extent as well.
Exactly. I mean, 65% of it is the Fine Gael parliamentary party. The membership is 25%. But look, the membership of Fine Gael is a very, very tiny percentage of this country. I presume significantly less than 1% of this country. And the people as a whole should have the right to decide who is Taoiseach, what kind of government we have. So we really do need to have a general election now where people can decide.
The timing of this, I suppose, as well, just Paul, I think the fact that Leo Varadkar has come back from what would be probably seen as a successful trip to Washington, to the States for the St. Patrick's weekend. He comes back, and this announcement today, he did say very clearly in his speech there's going to be a lot of, in inverted commas, analysis around the real reasons for his departure. He did say, though, he's nothing lined up.
He did. I mean, and at this stage, we just don't know. I think it's too early to say whether there is, some explosive revelation or whatever to emerge. I have no idea if there is or there isn't.
No, there's not.
So
According to he said himself, it's not. It's personal and professional reasons. Now's the time, but of course there'll be plenty of analysis around this. But I suppose the point today is you two in opposition. You're surprised by the news this morning.
Absolutely. There was no indication of this coming. I mean, I think the government is not a popular government. Leo Varadkar is not a popular politician. He obviously listed all of his achievements and made a passing reference to, well, there's many other things that people could say. And obviously the many other things include the fact that under Leo Varadkar, the number of people who are homeless in our country has gone up and up and up. House prices have gone up and up and up. Rents have gone up and up and up. And those who he actually represents, the big corporate landlords, the private developers and so on, they have seen their bank balances, their profits rise.
Yeah, well, he did all right start the speech with, I suppose, his list of achievements in government and to that of the Fine Gael party. We're going to have lots more analysis, discussion here. Look, your own thoughts if you want to get in contact with us as well today. The really surprise announcement that Leo Varadkar is to resign as Taoiseach of the country and also as leader of Fine Gael, which, as Paul Murphy pointed out, does trigger an election within the Fine Gael party for who is going to be the new Taoiseach of Ireland. Look, you can let us know your own thoughts. Who would you like to see now? Our own Barry White is still at Leinster House. Barry, what's the atmosphere like there now this lunchtime?
Yeah, look, the atmosphere is just of shock, Andrea. I just walked back from the courtyard and government buildings back to Leinster House, and I passed just a few opposition politicians on the way, and we stopped and just had a quick word, and everybody is just in shock. Nobody expected this. It's the timing of it that is the most shocking thing today. This has come as a political earthquake. Absolutely nobody expected this morning. I came in here just after 9 o'clock, and you kind of expecting it to be almost a quiet day today. I know it's the first day back since the referendum in Leinster House for the politicians and journalists, but absolutely nobody expected this. I got a text around 10 o'clock saying there was going to be an announcement, and then I think there was a few other political journalists got similar text messages, and then everybody was just on the phones and trying to ring political advisors, trying to find out what was happening. All the advisors' phones were off. Then I went down into the canteen in here in Leinster House, and nobody knew what was going on. But then the rumours started to spread. I took a walk around to government buildings, and I seen, there was a podium set up. It was going to be an announcement, like one of the addresses to the nation we've seen during COVID, and it was obvious that it was just going to be Leo Varadkar that was making this address. And then I suppose the rumours started to spread then that he was going to be making the shock announcement that he's resigning as Taoiseach and party leader of Fine Gael. But yeah, I think it's the timing of it, Andrea. I don't think anybody expected him to be stepping down today. I think some people would probably be of the opinion that maybe the writing was on the wall, and maybe he may have been expected to step down by some before the next general election. But, that still could be months away. I don't think anybody expected Leo Varadkar to be stepping down before the local and European election.
Anybody we've had on the programme today, and even those in opposition benches, all too very, very surprised and taken aback by the timing of his announcement. I presume, though, Barry, there's probably some speculation and discussion and possible successor names, I'm sure, have been mentioned around there today too.
Yeah, I'm not sure who it could be. We're all guessing at this stage because it was such a shock announcement. Obviously, Simon Harris's name is being mentioned. Paschal Donohoe's name's been mentioned. I don't think it's clear at this stage if Paschal Donohoe wants to be the Taoiseach or the leader of Fine Gael. He said in the past it's a job he doesn't want. Heather Humphreys was one of the politicians who flanked Leo Varadkar. I think she could maybe be an outsider. Could she be the first female Taoiseach in this country? Fine Gael would then beat, a lot of people were earmarking Mary Lou McDonald.
So lots of different names for sure. Well, Barry, I'm just going to cut across you. We've Fine Gael Senator Mary Siri Carney with us on the line today. Mary, your reaction to Leo's announcement?
Well, naturally, I'm very shocked. I have had an exceptionally good working relationship with him, and on a personal level, have also. So I suppose I'm shocked. I'm still reeling from it, to be honest. In my view, he had done an exceptional job as leader and as Taoiseach. We have an economy in a strong place. We have full employment. We've been led through Brexit. He was just the voice of stability during the pandemic, especially. And most of all, I'm very grateful that he had great faith in me. So I suppose we now then must look forward, and fortunately we're spoiled for choice in who would be the next leader. But yeah, still reading from the news. Today's parliamentary party will be certainly interesting and different.
It would very much appear from everybody I've been talking to today that even those within Fine Gael only first heard of this when the Irish Independent pushed the notification, or the article went up on the website. I presume that's true then, Mary, when you heard about it.
Yes. Obviously, it went into various WhatsApp groups that I'm in, that our party associated, and everybody wondering, what is this? Was it going to be a very high-profile resignation? Had some of those at cabinet landed big jobs elsewhere, or what was happening? That was really where it began.
I think a lot of people thought that, didn't they? Particularly when he just returned from Washington and from the St. Patrick's weekend. The celebrations but he did announce in his speech he's nothing lined up.
Yes, he did, which would. But then I suppose when you have been in such a position, it is maybe good to take time to think on both a professional and personal level. That he has the scope and the space to think. He will be Taoiseach for another number of weeks. Yes, he will still be a TD for his constituency, and we'll see that all through with no indications for whether he'll stand in the general election or not. But I'm assuming the indication at this moment is that he will. I think that our party has been in a very good place under his leadership, and he has made some very, very bold and brave decisions on behalf of our party and on behalf of the country. I very much mourn his passing, but politics moves on, unfortunately.
Yeah, the timing of the decision, I think, is what's caught a lot of people today, and given how close the local and the European elections are and just around the corner, is that timing somewhat disruptive, Mary? For Fine Gael, I mean.
I think that, we only had 2 days of sitting. There's only 2 sitting days this week for the Oireachtas. That being today and tomorrow, and then we're in recess until after Easter. So I suppose from one perspective, today was probably, or tomorrow were the only days in which to make the announcement, and it would seem fit that it would happen, in cabinet first, and then come out and tell the people of the country. And so there's a certain amount where that gives us an opportunity as a party to consider what are the next steps. Who amongst the many will be.
Who do you see in the many? Who do you think are the likely contenders, Mary?
Well, I think we've got all very strong people, both at cabinet and as ministers of state. There are people who have shown great leadership, great strength, who are very popular amongst the people. So we will see today who maybe are indicating as being contenders.
Who would you like to see?
I'm not. Well, I think there is an opportunity for us to see a woman as the leader of the party. There is an opportunity in that. That said, we have some really super men as well. So I wouldn't. I think it should be on merit and on capacity and capability as opposed to gender. But that said, we're very fortunate in that there are super women there at the moment.
Okay.
So any one of them would be great.
Labour TD Aidan O'Riordan is with us here on the line as well today, Mary. Were you as surprised as most, Aidan, by the announcement?
I was, but I don't think I'm shocked. I think anybody who's been observing Leo Varadkar for the last while would have said that there's a little bit of fatigue creeping into his performance. I've been observing Leo, I suppose, for 20 years. I remember 20 years ago, local election 2004, I was running myself, but I was bringing a bunch of kids off to play a match in his area. I saw his poster. I was interested in his name, which stood out as being a little bit different. And in that post-2002 era, where Fine Gael had a bit of a very difficult general election, he was one of that new generation of Fine Gael politicians. He got elected in 2007. But from the Labour Party perspective, we viewed him as somebody who was incredibly conservative, incredibly right-wing, and very self-assured. And only within a few years, he was almost the face of a leadership challenge against Enda Kenny at the time. Maybe he wasn't the instigator of it, but certainly he was to the forefront of it. And as cabinet minister, I would have served with him in the Department of Health for a brief period of time. He was still somebody that the Labour Party would have viewed as not an ally. With our mindset of what we were trying to achieve. But having said that, look, today
politics is it's so easy to go for the criticism, but it's a day of, I think, of some hurt for Leo Varadkar. There was emotion in his voice.
He was very emotional, I thought, all right.
He was,
yeah,
and I think that there's maybe another time to speak about the political ramifications for this, but he is somebody who's given 20 years of his life to politics. He is somebody who has made a difficult decision. I don't think the decision was entirely his own, but certainly, look, we can only wish him the best for the future. But at the same time,
in what way? Sorry, do you mean in the context of the referendum? Or there certainly doesn't seem to have been any heave anyway.
Well, the heaves happen in different forms, and I can only imagine, and this is all speculation, that maybe around the John Bruton funeral, people were beginning to chat. Certainly after referendums, that chat sort of intensified. He hasn't had a brilliant electoral record for Fine Gael. There's been quite a number of resignations from the party in terms of retirements, I should say. Retirements as in not running again. He's the latest one. You can only wish him the best for the future. But I think from the Labour Party perspective, it's quite clear that this government is over. And it has run out of steam. It's hard to live that life as a cabinet minister. I was a junior minister for 18 months, and it was the most intense working environment I've ever had, and that was as a junior minister. If you're a cabinet minister for 13 years, it absolutely takes over your life. Every room you walk into, you're the most important person in that room. Every decision you make is very, very important. The responsibilities you have are huge. The media responsibilities are colossal. Every word you say is poured over. And if you're Taoiseach, that intensifies even tenfold. So it is inevitable that you will get a level of
you're also a human being as well, and
you are a human being, yeah. And he's a relatively young man. He's still in his mid-40s.
Absolutely,
he has opportunities to achieve other things, but certainly from he's entitled to his successes. I mean, I would have said that as a minister, he didn't achieve much. As Taoiseach, though, he did outline a number of achievements from Brexit, which is not that was a serious achievement, and it shouldn't be diminished. Certainly, the pandemic is something that we would have backed him on. I thought he showed great leadership there. I think he was at his best when the country needed some direction, and there was a sense of calm when he took to the podium during the pandemic, that he had a direction and he knew what he wanted to do. But in terms of bringing people together or bringing the country together, I'm not sure if he achieved that much. But look, he's entitled to his day. He's entitled to his thoughts. He's entitled to the compliments from his own party. But certainly, as we move on into tomorrow, our perspective would be that this government has come to an end.
So you wanted a general election?
I think the country needs one, because we can't have a caretaker government for the next year. We need an administration, and as a public servant, I think Leo Varadkar will know that more than anybody else.
Just finally, Aidan, Leo is one of, I suppose, quite a number of people who've announced that they're not going to. He's stepping back, obviously, as leader. Others have announced that they're not running in the next elections. Just when you look at it, and even through an opposition lens, is politics now in 2024? Is it an attractive career?
Well, I don't want to join the choruses of people that sort of speak to how difficult it is because we want people to run. But it is harder to get people to run now than it was 20 years ago when I started. There are a number of people who are leaving in my age group, late 40s, early 50s, across all parties. Maybe because now you can have a number of different careers, but there is a coarseness that has creeped into it, which I think everybody needs to reflect upon. It is very different than it was. It is the best thing you'll ever do is running for election. But I think all of us have to reflect on how we interact with each other, how we criticise, how we give our opinions. Do we personalise it too much? Social media definitely has changed the dynamic there. And when people's families are brought into it, when there's protests outside people's houses, when there's verbal abuse on the streets, politicians aren't the only people to get this. Guards get it. People, working in security get it. Librarians get it. Teachers get it. So there's a lot of people across very different, workplaces get it who aren't paid as well as TDs are. So I wouldn't overemphasize it, but at the same time, I think we have to have a reflection across media as well, I would say, about how we view political life, how we arrange our disagreements, and where is the border, where is the boundary. The only people ever to
come to my personal home and to invade that space were two journalists. So it's not just that politicians need to change how they interact, or protesters need to change how they interact. I think journalism has a bit of reflection to do on that as well.
Okay. Listen, Éireann O'Riordan, Labour Party TD. Éireann, thank you for joining us here on Lunchtime Live today. Just to look some of your own listener reaction to the news, the announcement by Leo Varadkar this afternoon. Texter says, simply has to be a general election. The country is completely disillusioned with politics and the people must decide its future now. Una has got in touch to say, I think it's a sad day to see Leo Varadkar resign. He did a lot of good, made mistakes like all humans do. It's perfect timing to go now. It's a decent decision instead of wasting people's time waiting until after the election and people putting their energy into him to then be let down after that election. It would be disappointing, but now we can accept his decision. Wish him well. He will be missed. Big shoes to fill, according to Una. Another texter, 087 1400 106. Leo ran Fine Gael and his government for a Dublin-centric voter base. Many outside the M50 will hope this is corrected by the new leader that's selected. Another texter again, time for a general election now. What else do we need to happen? They know their time is up. Stop kicking the can down the road.